Welcome to Season 4 of AIHA's podcast series, The Healthier Workplaces Show, where we explore timely and informative topics about occupational and environmental health and safety. I'm your host, Alonso Castillo. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Industrial Hygienist Jonathan Klane. Jonathan Klane is a Senior Manager of Business Development and Advisor for Draeger Safety Inc, as well as a PhD candidate and researcher in human and social dimensions of science and technology at Arizona State University. Within AIHA, he is active as a conference and a webinar speaker, Synergist contributing author, chair of the Communicating OEHS Concepts and Priorities Committee, and former chair of the Communication and Training Methods Committee. We're here today to talk about Jonathan Klane's career in OEHS and learn more about how OEHS professionals can build a more accessible and accommodating profession. Jonathan, thank you for joining us today.
Hey Alejandro, it's great to be here.
Let's get started.
Okay.
Let's start from the beginning. How did you discover OEHS and what made you become in love with this field?
Yeah, it's a great field. I really do love it. So the story of that is I was working in marketing and we were responsible for all the literature. But my undergrad degree was in geology, right? So I was spending my days proofreading, which was fine, good skill to have. And I wanted to get into this field. So this is way before the internet. And I applied to a classified ad for environmental engineers, environmental scientists, and industrial hygienists. And I was just looking at the environmental engineers and environmental scientists. I had no idea what an industrial hygienist was.
No one does normally.
Yeah, exactly. And it turns out there's a lot of people who got into it from geology.
Yep.
That's been interesting. And maybe some of your, podcast viewers and listeners can relate. So I get interviewed. It's a small engineering company, like we would say today, a startup. And the president comes out and he looks at my resume and he says, wow, you could be in any of our groups. And he lists the 3 groups. And I'm like, sure, I want the job.
Of course.
I'm like, sure, of course, absolutely. And he's like, great, I'm going to have, we filled the environmental scientist role yesterday. But we've got this other role in industrial hygiene. What would you think about joining that group? And I was like, sure, absolutely, I'd love to. He's like, cool, I'll have the vice president interview you.
Wow.
And I had no idea what the heck industrial hygiene was. But I'm like, this is gonna be good. They got all sorts of stuff. So he comes out, you know what he asked me? This first 2 questions, I got 2 questions for you, John. I'm like, okay, he's gonna ask me about industrial hygiene. I know it, I don't know anything. Do you have claustrophobia and are you scared of heights? And I'm like, no and no. Why? It's like, well, we get into tight spaces and we climb really tall chemical tanks.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm fine. And then he starts to tell me about what it is. I get a feel for it.
Yeah.
Doing surveys, doing this, health and safety, exposures. I know the science. I'm like, cool, I can do this. Sure. How would you like to open our office in Augusta, Maine? Because their office was in southern New Hampshire. Sure. Let me talk to my wife. Because all we know about Maine is Stephen King novels. Yeah. Maybe not be, really representative. So I got hired, I opened the office, and from there I ended up becoming field operations manager, equipment manager. I managed 12 industrial hygienists, and when the biggest client we had used up all of their bond money, the state, I got transferred into environmental engineering and I became a field environmental geologist out on haz waste sites, from the smallest dirty dirt tank yank to the biggest Superfund site. Did data validation for months, which helped me with my CIH exam.
Of course.
I learned, I got into training, then I started teaching full time. I left from teaching IH and starting my own lab at the college. I went back to the engineering firm that had now been bought out and was global and did all sorts of stuff for them. And I mean, the stories, they go on and on and on, Alejandro. So it was literally from, I know nothing about this, but they're interested in me. This looks like a cool job. I won't have to proofread anymore. Yeah. This is gonna be great. Little did I know that 30 years later, I've become senior safety editor for a media group, and what was one of my duties? Writing, telling stories, and proofreading.
I feel like a lot of people say fake it until you make it, and you certainly have made it.
It was amazing. I showed up on day one and we're going on a survey, with a full beard and mustache, and the 2 hygienists who had been working there for a year or so Maybe they had degrees in it, I honestly don't remember. They were both wonderful, wonderful people. One of them actually did a lot of training for me. They talked to our boss, they're like, Doug, look at John. He's like, what? He's got a beard.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh my God, yeah, you're gonna have to shave. I'm like, okay, I'll shave. I don't care. You know, what is it? Whatever.
Of course.
You just did whatever it took.
Yeah.
And it, like the end of the movie Casablanca,
Yeah.
this can be the beginning of a beautiful friendship. And so, sort of
love
like was
that.
the beginning of a beautiful friendship between me and this wonderful, wacky field that we're in. Yeah.
Is there a particular moment or highlight in your career that really like defined, wow, I'm an industrial hygienist and I did this?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, it's hard to choose, right? There's always plenty of them. A lot of what I've done, right, and you know this, is risk communication,
Of course.
training, and just how do people understand what it is we do? It's a very scientific, technological thing, but it's really all about people and how much do they trust us, and how much do they trust the technology and everything else. So I got called in by an institution where 3 workers had been exposed to probably high levels. After a flood, over a weekend, carpeting got moldy. The people removed the carpeting with these workers present who did not need to be there. They told them, no, keep working. They did not remove the carpeting underneath the furnishings, even though the women said you got to remove it.
Of course.
Then they tore it up. Then they treated everything with bleach and water, but not the 10%. They did 50%. So by now, the women are horrendously upset. Then the flooring guy used very toxic solvents to remove the glue, the mastic, so he could lay down new tile. So they're furious, they're outraged.
Of course.
Just think about Sandman and his equation of hazard and outrage, right? So I get brought in, solve the 2 problems. Solve the problem of how do we do silica blasting, how do we blast the concrete to get it clean, and make it better for these 3 women, which is really the tougher challenge.
Yeah.
So I come in and I get introduced by not really my clients, because I'm reporting to higher up in the chain. And the first thing is, one of the women, after I get introduced, says, and I won't do it too loud here, why should we trust you? You're being paid by them. And
That's fair, I mean.
And I'm whispering because she was yelling. She was spitting it at me.
Okay.
And like you said, totally fair, right?
Yeah.
Totally fair. I'm like, no, you don't know me? Why should you? I'm here to solve the problem, not you, of how do we do this, but I will only recommend something that you first approve. I want to meet with you privately, not with them. Said
Sure.
them, moved away from them, stepped like aside. I want to meet with you, either each of you or together privately, and I'll answer any and all questions you got.
And is that how you build their trust? Just
Yeah.
offering answers?
Put them in control.
Okay.
Because of course, look at their situation. How much control would you feel you had when you kept telling them, no, you shouldn't be doing this, and yet they did it? And if that's not bad enough, they actually also exposed you to mold, bleach, solvents, and then we're going to do open air blasting of concrete, which is huge silica exposures.
I would feel voiceless. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I met with them, and I'm like, yeah, everything they did was crazy. It's not at all what they should have been doing. I have zero idea why they did it. I think and I'm so sorry. Are you okay? First thing should always be expressions of care. Incident assessments, never an investigation. Following up, how are you? Are you okay? That was always the first question I asked. Something's happened, I don't care how minor. How are you? Is everyone okay? What can you tell me? And in this case, I just gradually rebuilt their trust. There's that concept of the trust bank. I think I probably got it from Brene Brown, who is this expert in trust. Love her stuff. May have gotten it from someone else. So the metric, I don't know if you've heard it, I hadn't before, is for every withdrawal from the trust bank, which is going to be a problem, you've got to have 7 deposits.
I like that.
And it's a rough number,
Yeah.
right? This isn't exact science. you've got to be continuously depositing in the trust bank, and you better be depositing ahead of time, because otherwise you're screwed, right?
So let me ask you this. What are the best practices for communication in OEHS so we can fill up that bank, essentially, of trust?
Yeah. People first, technology second,
Okay.
their needs first, my solution second. I don't want to solve the wrong problem.
Of course.
People are never the problem, but the problem always involves and impacts people. So in conflict management, we also talk about separate people from the problem.
Okay.
Be easy on the people and be hard on the problem, right? We have a tough problem. We had a challenge, So, but how do I solve the challenge of they have been so disenfranchised and exposed, and my client reps have totally blown this trust? I also love the Stoics. A lot of people love the Stoics. There's a lot we can learn. One is we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. We should at least be doing twice as much listening as we are speaking. And so even as I'm speaking, I've gotten much better at looking for visual cues and clues. I mean, we're talking about a lot of things, including that I'm autistic. And autism is often described as a communication disorder, and I know we're going to talk about that. Is it truly a disorder? What else is going on, et cetera, et cetera?
Let's segue. I think that's a perfect segue.
Okay, let's do that. What would you like to know about it? Because I can go in all directions, as you know, Alejandro.
Tell me about masking, for example.
Okay, cool. So like right now, when I'm talking and I'm being expressive, I'm masking. Okay, so masking is, in a sense, metaphorically, putting on a mask to fit in. I'm doing what is, I think, I may be getting it wrong, I don't always calibrate well, to use a term that we can relate to, okay? Can be out of proportion, can be doing too much or too little of anything, but I have learned, seen, and learned a lot of it unconsciously, subconsciously, because I was only diagnosed much, much later in life, only 4 years ago, right?
Oh, wow.
So a lifetime of not knowing, but going, okay, what this person is doing is working. I need to be more expressive. I need to be talking. I need to be smiling. I need to be doing this or doing that. Because how can I come across? When I told my college roommate, who was absolutely my best friend, knew me, I knew him, he was my best man, I was his best man, best of buds. We live so far apart, I never got a chance. So he came to visit, to attend a celebration of life for my older son, who had passed away, had special needs. And I'm like, Chris, I really want to tell you something important. He's like, what is it, John? What is it? He said, and I told him the whole story, and I'm like, so I'm autistic, and I just wanted you to know. And he looked at me like this, which is like, really? Come on, John. You're not telling me anything I haven't figured out.
We already knew.
and I'm like, but that's how we communicate, right? It's all visual and maybe, like really, And I'm like, what? Because I'm always curious. How did you know? And he's like, okay, remember when we were in college and I would come back and maybe from a protest and I would say, John, the world's going crazy, etc. And he said, and you would sit there and you would say, gee, Chris, that sounds awful. I'm really sorry. I hope you're okay. Is there anything I can do? Robotic, monotone, etc. And he's like, I thought you had ice water in your veins. Oh my God. But then that story, I was telling that story to a guy on an airplane a few trips ago. I strike up conversations with anyone because I don't know social norms.
Why not? Yeah.
And he and I were talking a lot, and he stopped. He had a look on his face, and I'm like, what is it? What is it, Tony? What's going on? And because we were talking about autism, and he was kind of curious, and he said, my family and friends will sometimes call me the Iceman, because I can be so just...
So he's correlating it.
Yeah, exactly. So he's tracking with me, and I'm like, and by now he has shared so many things, and I'm like, yeah, I'll send you the link to the autism quotient. You ought to take this test. I nailed the exam. I got a 42 out of 50. Mine was so clear. maybe you want to take it because I don't know. So, all of these things, if you can pull all of these different, and we're very good at systematizing and categorizing and looking for pattern recognition, even though we don't realize it, we're doing it quite a bit. And so I was able to put all of these things together and some of the time communicate well and other times fail miserably. I've been yelled at in work settings and life more times than I'd care to remember. And I can pin them all on autistic behaviors, mostly before diagnosis, where people got obviously so upset and outraged over how I was communicating or what I was doing.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
How does this correlate with the double empathy problem, and what is that exactly?
Yeah, so the double empathy problem, which is either Milton or Morton, I can never remember because they sound alike, and that happens to me, it happens to people. So ASD is autism spectrum disorder, but there's a lot of good evidence that it's not so much a disorder of communication as it is a difference in communication. Our brains are operating, basically using a different operating system. It's like trying to get a Mac and a PC to talk without any APIs or programs in between them.
I get that, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't mean acute pharmaceutical ingredients or something like that. So, don't get me started on acronyms. They bug the crap out of me. I actually wrote a book of them for ACGIH. So the double empathy problem, through evidence, has shown that when you have autistics communicating with autistics, speaking or communicating they communicate very effectively. We understand our own languages, we understand how we talk. Things are very, it was this. Okay, what about this? What about, no, wait a minute. This. And it's never like emotional insult of, wait, you interrupted me, or wait, you said this. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say that? Wait, I meant this. Okay, and I'm saying this. And no one's like getting all offended, because when I say, wait, you said, people get, don't tell me what I said. I said, and I'm like, why are you offended? I'm trying to understand this.
And this becomes a whole big miscommunication, essentially.
Exactly. And then allistics, which is just the convenient word for everyone else who's not autistic, they communicate mostly well. It breaks down. Communication's tough. For a species with language, we're pretty terrible communicators.
That's fair.
But allistics, non-autistics, for the most part, communicate well. Mm-hmm. They understand the language, hey, let's get together. Oh yeah, absolutely, let's get together. And there's no plan to get together. Whereas if you say, let's get together sometime, I'm like, okay, let me get out my calendar. When would you like to get together? What looks good? And you're like, no, it's just sort of a casual thing we say for politeness for the most part. I mean, maybe you would be sincere about it.
Yeah.
I don't mean to imply that you would not, Alejandro. And I'm assuming you're not autistic as well.
I don't think so. I didn't take the test, so.
Whatever. I don't want to say it's fine, because then it's like, well, how might it not be fine or whatever? It's whatever it is. It just is. It's great. So, allistic, great. Autistic, really great.
Yeah.
Autistic, not so great. And that's where the communication breaks down. I take things literally. If you were to say, oh my God, that storm, it was like my brain exploded, right? You might mean that it was just so loud, it startled you so much. It's very euphemistic, it's very metaphoric. But what I hear and have to translate in my head is that you told me literally your brain exploded. But I can tell your brain didn't explode, I'm pretty sure. So what exactly do you mean? Is that a euphemism? Are you being sarcastic? Is there a slant to this? And that constancy of trying to translate in my head just consumes a tremendous amount of fuel, of energy. Our brains are energy hogs. They use 10 times the energy and fuel that they should pound for pound. And so it creates shortcuts like metaphors, euphemisms, heuristics, cognitive biases, etc. A lot of the stuff I study in my PhD.
So regarding the communication problem,
Yeah.
how does that affect the field of OEHS? How can we enforce best practices to avoid that miscommunication?
Yeah. Communicating is incredibly important, and all of us have challenges. I have challenges all the time. Everyone on the Communicating OEHS Concepts and Risk Communication and Everything committee that I'm now chair of, we all say the same thing. Everyone thinks they're a great risk communicator, and all of us struggle, all of us included, and all of us are professionals at it. Communication is 100% about trying to reach the other person where they are.
So you think you can communicate? Submit a short self-recorded video highlighting your OEHS story. Participate for the chance to win a $250 gift card. Entries are due by July 24th, 2025.
So we talked about masking. What about stimming?
Yeah, so stimming is something that we do as autistics that's basically self-calming, and it's a coping skill. I've seen lots and lots of research on it, even by non-autistics who say, look, this is just coping the same way. I saw one researcher who was not autistic say, I get home, it was a crazy commute, a long day, I need quiet time, I need a drink, I need to sit down, I need to veg out. That is 100% coping mechanisms. There is really not a huge amount of difference between what I am doing and what the autistic child or the autistic adult needs to do, only they're doing a lot more of it. We're doing something. Very often we get too much sensory input. I'm doing okay right now because I'm focusing on you and I'm having fun. But the sounds coming that I can hear, all of the lights, all of this stuff, it's not just distracting to me, it's too much sensory input.
Gotcha.
And my brain is overwhelmed because it's trying to process everything even though it shouldn't be processing it. And so one way of maybe distracting my brain from that and offsetting it and coping is maybe I wiggle my watch. You might see people doing a rocking. I can't do it because I've got sleeves on. I tend to just very lightly, gently pull at the hair on my arm.
Gotcha.
If I might take something out of my pocket and basically, there's the spinners.
Oh, yeah.
I had one of those really crazy long pens.
Okay.
And people on virtual calls with me at one of my previous employers said, John, it looks like you're conducting an orchestra with your pen, because it was like a baton. I was talking, but it was all over the place. I'm like, there's some melody in my head, and it's just calming my brain.
Of course.
And what I find is, and there's good research on this, when people know my diagnosis and I can just casually bring it up and help them and answer any questions, I don't care how they know about it, know about autism, they know nothing, they only know the movie Rain Man, and that's a starting point. I don't get offended by that. It's a starting point. I'm not him, I'm not Dustin Hoffman, great actor, right?
Yeah.
But it's a starting point. Let's talk. And then they've got this very specific, although broad spectrum, diagnosis that they can say, oh yeah, that's John. That's just one of his cool peculiarities that he just does that. Let's not focus on it. Let's not worry about it. It lets him be him. It lets him be the best him he can be.
Absolutely.
So why wouldn't we want to develop people, coach people, help people? And sometimes it's helping that person, but as the keynote today and others have said, when you help the neurodiverse, you help everyone. It's the rising tide lifts all sails, or I don't know, it's a metaphor. I don't always get metaphors because I'm autistic and our brain is like, it's raining cats and dogs. I don't see felines and canines falling from the sky. Yeah, right.
That all sounds great, but what if somebody's hesitant about disclosing that information?
Yeah.
What happens then?
Well, I think that's a very individual question. I that was the first thing that my counselor and her clinical supervisor said to me is, you probably really want to think about if and how you want to disclose your diagnosis. And they were right. I mean, the first persons I told were my son and his fiance. We were living together, and he was my son. He knows me, and you know what he said to me? Hey, Pops, is what he called me. You're my dad. Nothing's changed. I still love you. I'm gonna tear up, right? Yeah. And what I've found is the more when I tell people, sometimes I tell people one-on-one, but sometimes I do it en masse. And very often afterwards, like say I do a talk, people come up to me and then they'll share. So we as humans developed to be vulnerable with each other. Back to Brene Brown and that research. Vulnerability begets vulnerability. Now that's easy for me. I'm an older white male. I've got privilege. I can do this. I'm far advanced in my career, right? My arc is, it's past the pinnacle, the peak. If you're a young, early career professional, maybe you're a woman, maybe you're a person of color, maybe you're LGBTQ as well, maybe not. Maybe you're like me, okay, and that's fine, whatever. You still have occupational concerns, financial concerns, right? What are people gonna do? It's hard to know. So I have found that exploring those concerns or fears or whatever, it's absolutely legitimate, it's important, and it's good to get help. And I've got friends, but I've also got counselors. And so therapy, and I have found I'm a storyteller and I study stories in my PhD, I use narrative therapy, and my counselors are really good at understanding what I write. As a matter of fact, they say the more creative you get, the more abstract, the more like I write dreamlike sequences, or I write these epic poems or whatever, the more creative you get, John, the more we get out of it. The more we can understand what's going on deep inside of you. So think about it deeply, get help. Be with counselors, talk to trusted people, get a variety of thoughts, and think about what you're gonna do, and know that you can do it one at a time, and ask people to be confidential, because once you go public, you can't go back.
What can AIHA do to better support neurodivergence in our field?
Yeah, I would start with do what they're doing now, meaning today. So we've had a keynote, David Finch, he was awesome. There was his meet and greet and talk to him, which I thought was great. Not a ton of people, which is too bad, but really cool stuff. Yeah. I spoke, he instantly got me, I instantly got him, a lot of cool bonding in front of all these people. There's was the What Works Institute, John and Sarah, talking about how supporting the neurodiverse workforce helps the workforce, helps the company be better. There's this podcast that you and I are recording.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a pop-up on what it's like. I'm gonna do a lot more funny storytelling in that. And I heard from one of the other AIHA staff that it's a board priority. The board feels very strongly. We probably have a greater percentage because we're a very STEM, science, tech, engineering, math, heavy field, tons of technology, a real very niche sort of stuff.
You have to give a random estimate, what percentage would you say?
So let's start with autism. The neurodivergences are all over the place. Like Tourette's is very low, ADHD is higher than autism. Autism's been creeping up, not because it's occurring more, but because we're getting better at identifying, right? In many ways, adults versus children, marginalized communities versus just straight, the little white boy, right? There's a lot more to it than that. So autism is maybe, I think the last I heard was 2.8% of 8-year-olds have been diagnosed, and so that might be low, so let's say 3%.
Yeah.
I heard 1 in 36. So, I don't know. Hard
That's
to
fair.
say.
Yeah.
STEM? That's a great question. We know it's more.
Okay.
We absolutely know it's more. How much more? I don't think we have a fantastic knowledge. I'm a qualitative researcher, social science. We're all about numbers, but sometimes descriptions and mini stories are better. When I told my committee, one-on-one, hey, I'm autistic, one of my committee members said, cool, thank you. Love that you're telling me. I think it's great that I think this can only help you in what you're trying to do. I'll try to help you, but I got to be honest, I've never had a PhD student, or now you're a candidate, who has told me they are. Maybe they knew it, didn't want to, maybe they didn't know it. He said, and here's the key thing, but John, here at ASU, especially in engineering, and a big smile on his face, I'm pretty sure I've worked with a lot of people who are autistic. Maybe they know it, maybe they don't, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, I could name 30 or 40 if I wanted to. So I don't know what the number is. It's significantly more than the general population. And I have complimented AIHA repeatedly already today. I think this is great, so thank you very much for feeling that this was of high enough value to want to. I think continuing to do that, what I want to do, my goal, which I would love to see AIHA help with, of course, is I want to bring greater understanding and greater empathy, and I want to not only destigmatize, right? Talking about autism, I want to normalize it. And some of this, David Finch, the keynote, spoke of, because the stigma is very real and is a significant problem. I had people where I wanted to talk to them about autism in the workplace, even before I was autistic, who immediately reacted, no, we can't talk about it, we're not allowed to. They were in such a panic, probably because of something HR said or whatever. And I'm like, if someone had a broken leg, that's a disability. We can talk about that. How do we accommodate it? So if someone's autistic, it falls under ADA, why can't we talk about it? This was even before I was diagnosed. And so I think what AIHA is doing, and to try to do more, is important. And here's maybe the last thing I would say. A lot of us realize this. I did a gap analysis for us. We have tons of stuff on the technical aspects. We need to do much more on the people skills, the social side. And I'm biased. It's what I study. It's what I do.
That's
How
fair.
do we communicate?
At least you acknowledge the bias.
I always want to. Want to. Disclose ahead of time. Don't wait till the end. Give me your disclosure ahead so I can judge you accordingly, right? So I need to do it, right? If I point my finger at someone else, 3 more are pointing back at me. I learned that from a colleague. So how can we incorporate a lot of this into a lot of what we do educationally, talks, training, just everything that we do? It will raise all sails, as that metaphor goes. If I use that metaphor correctly, they're powerful. The science behind metaphors is great, so I use them, but I'm autistic, so I don't always get them right.
Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Alejandro. This was it was a blast. It was fun. I really appreciate it very, very much. Thank you. Thank you for doing this and making it very comfortable for me to do it.
Absolutely. That wraps today's episode of the Healthier Workplaces Show. To learn more, visit the AIHA website and follow us on social media. Listeners, thank you for tuning in, and as always, remember that healthier workplaces means a healthier world. Until next time.